Hello and welcome to Never on the Back Foot. In today's weekly live show, we discuss the blockbuster matches that happened at this week of the ICC Men's ODI World Cup with our very special guests and ardent cricket fans. We have Moinak and Ahona joining us today. To just give you a brief intro of our guests, Moinak is a PhD student in the Brain and Artificial Intelligence program at the Indian Institute of Science. He has been watching and analyzing cricket since the 2002 NatWest series finals when he was just 3 years old. Saurav Ganguly's epic revenge at the Lord's balcony was the impetus that made him the cricket fan he is today. He has been following cricket ever since. And just a side note, since 2008, he claims to be Roger Federer's biggest fan as well, and tennis is his favorite sport. He follows many other Olympic sports very closely. Next, we have Ahona, who is pursuing English honors at the University of Delhi. She has been watching cricket since the 2015 World Cup. Steve Smith, Joe Root, Pat Cummins, and Jimmy Anderson helped her develop her interest in watching the game. She keenly follows the matches of Australia and never misses the Ashes and the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Apart from watching cricket, she follows tennis and is a die-hard fan of Novak Djokovic. One thing you can clearly see, all her favorites are quite the opposite of Moinak. So, what initially was a matter of rivalry with her brother is now her passion. And she dreams of Yeah, we're back. Yeah, so to give a little context to our discussion, we will be focusing on the semi final one that featured India and New Zealand, semi final two, which had Australia and South Africa, and the finals that we all are looking forward to today. So, without further ado, let's get started in our discussion. Let's start off with the semi-final one, India versus New Zealand, right? Now, India hammered New Zealand by 70 runs to, qualify for this ODI World Cup final. And this is happening for the first time in 12 years. So us Indian fans are really like looking forward to this. Now, when you look at this match, of course, we have a lot of talking points that we will discuss through the course of this episode. So I'll start with the Moinak on this one. Now, India made it 10 wins out of 10 at the World Cup. So, what are your first reactions on this mammoth win, and how are
Yeah,
you feeling?
the match against New Zealand was quite a tense one. So we have never defeated New Zealand in a World Cup knockout ever before this. So New Zealand has always been the bogey team for Team India. Be it the 2019 World Cup, who can ever forget that? Even before that, there's been a lot of such matches. Even before we were born, that New Zealand defeated us many a times in the. So even in T20 World Cups and all, New Zealand has always like even recently in the T20 2021 World Cup, they dumped us out of the group stages. For this World Cup as well, they started off initially very well, but their campaign sort of tapered off towards the latter half, losing a lot of four matches in a row before making through by defeating Sri Lanka and setting up like crushing a lot of Indian and Pakistani fans' dreams of a India Pakistan semi final. And I was really rooting for Pakistan because I wanted India versus Pakistan at the Eden Gardens rather than India versus New Zealand at the Wankhede. So yeah, they made it, but I more or less more the reason I wanted a Pakistan semi-final because semi-final was because they would have been a much easier opponent compared to New Zealand, and New Zealand never disappoints. So this time too, having batted so well, 300. I would not say it's a hammering that India gave to New Zealand, having scored up odd 400 odd runs in the first innings. You see what happened in the second innings, like around 30 overs mark. I was just noting down the stats in the morning, and didn't go like remember everything. So we were up like 200 for two wickets at the 30 over mark. So generally in ODI cricket, you double whatever happens at 30 over mark in the 50 overs run score. So it would have been a quite a run chase if Mohammad Shami would not have come back with the two wickets in the same over, getting out Latham and Williamson, saving himself from the like catch drop and so on. So which appears to be a 70 runs big victory at the end was really a close one and a nail biting contest till the 32nd over. So till Mohammad Shami came and took all those 2 wickets and a 7 wicket haul, like one of the best bowling figures. It's one of the top 5 bowling figures in the history of World Cups. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the match, and we are happy to. I'm happy that we have like overcome this biggest bogey team that we have had in the recent past, and I'm happy that India would be going and like massive favorites into the finals.
Definitely, again, the finals brings in a lot of interest as well. But focusing on this match, now India won the toss. They decided to bat first, and you had Rohit Sharma, give the finest possible start. So I'll direct this question at Ahona. How would you assess his knock and his consistency through the World Cup has been a massive bonus, right, for Team India?
I think Rohit Sharma has been very consistent. Like from the very beginning, he picked up couple of fifties, and then also his hundred, so century that he made was absolutely like. Even after certain failures that he was going through in the past matches and past events, I think he's really pull up, and what the performance he has shown in this tournament, especially the World Cup, is amazing. And I think even along with him, the Virat Kohli and the openers too has also showed a great performance along with him. Like even the openers have not disappointed this time. Even Shreya Shire has also picked up quite a couple of runs. Shubman Gill was also very fascinating to watch, and obviously we cannot skip about talking about Virat Kohli. He is like one of the best we can talk, and he like uh, uh, broke his own records, also breaking the record of Sachin Tendulkar and picking up 3 centuries this World Cup. So I think, yeah, the consistency, the team as a team, it was very good. Not only Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli and the players, I think all of the players have contributed very well in this tournament.
That's actually good.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
so I
Yeah,
would
yeah, go
like to
on.
add something, just a cheeky comment. Yeah, Rohit Sharma has been very good at winning the tosses as well.
That's true. And, I'm glad that Ahona brought the point of Virat Kohli, right? Because we saw how this game he again brought his brilliant form as he notched up that 50th ODI century. He overtook Sachin Tendulkar as well. So, Moinak, how phenomenal was that to see? And considering you've been following cricket for such a long time, Virat Kohli is that clutch player for your important occasions, right?
Yeah, so I remember I was in a tour like in 2008. We had gone to some like a tour to Orissa and all. When Virat Kohli played this first defining knock at the Eden Gardens, chasing down 372 against or something 60 runs against Sri Lanka. That bowling attack comprising Lasith Malinga and Muralidharan and so on. And that was the day. Like before that, he although he won the under 19 World Cup, we never know what to translate into a great career. But that day he showed the making of a great player. So and then again, I remember 2011 Cricket World Cup final. So people talk about the Gambhirs and the Dhonis playing a brilliant knock and giving India the World Cup. But at 32 for 2 and Sachin and Sehwag into the hut, uh, Virat Kohli at just 21 odd years of age, he with that amount of pressure, he handled 35 odd runs that he scored in that match, taking a 80 runs odd partnership with Gambhir. That really set up the tempo. And later on against Australia at Canberra, like who can ever forget 375 when he became the chase master. So I've followed his cricket very, very closely. So I have always been a die-hard Saurav Ganguly fan. Like he was the go-to person for me, and I loved the way he carried the team and so on. But only Virat was able to like come close and even surpass the my love for him. Like he Virat is maybe like leads on that front as well on now. Like his I loved his captaincy in Test cricket as well, but his batting has been phenomenal. So in ODI cricket, if you compare Sachin and him, I would personally compare like think that he's the top three ODI limited overs batters ever. Sir Vivian Richards, I've watched him was highlights a thousand times. So Sir Vivian Richards defined ODI cricket. Then Sachin Tendulkar, where like people average around 40s in those periods, and Sachin was like breaking records left, right, and center. But towards the latter half of his career, is sort of tapered off. Maybe that's yeah. And then came Virat Kohli, sort of taking off the baton from him, and then he has really like 50 World Cup centuries on in like around 280 matches. It's insane, man. Like like Sachin took 40 like 450 ODI 4 ODI innings to do the same. I know people. I also argue with people that there is a case for Sachin as well, because they used a single ball and there was reverse swing, which is now, and the field positioning where like there's a lot of caveats to it. But 280 ODI innings, it's insane. So Sachin is well ahead of him in Test cricket, I believe, but in ODI, I think he has surpassed Sachin. So he really great.
That's true. And we also have Cricket Darshan, mentioning how he's waiting for the man in the photo here, Virat Kohli, to, score another daddy 100 today. And we, will see him really, get his A game out in front of a team like Australia, his favorite opposition. Now, also looking at this aspect, now when you look at the run chase, right, New Zealand was rocked early on. They lost Conway and Rachin Ravindra early on. And now, even if you observe, they did get starts, but they couldn't capitalize somewhere. And that's why Daryl Mitchell and Kane Williamson, with their impeccable batting performances, especially through those middle overs, almost, gave us Indian fans a massive scare. Like, hey, what's going to happen? So now, Ohana, like in the context of that run chase, how would you assess that partnership? Because hey, you're chasing a massive total here, yet they were able to apply that pressure on Team India, right?
Exactly. I think 397 was on the huge run on the scoreboard. And I think the pressure was also felt by New Zealand at a point of time when they lost Rachin Ravindra and Conway at the very beginning. And so, because they had been the pillars in building the score runs in the very beginning. So, but after that, the team was very stable when Mitchell and Kane Williamson was playing. So, but I think Shami was the game changer. He took away the wickets, and of course, after that, we know what happened. Like when they were the partnership was building up. I was like, okay, now the game is going out. We can see a New Zealand Australia now. So like at a point of time, we were all like praying, of course, at a time that okay, the now is time for Williamson to go. And there was also a couple of catch drops and that were taking place, and I was like, okay, the match is out now, and now we are on the page. So I think at the point of period, Shami and the other players, other bowlers were excellent. Even Siraj also took a couple of wickets there. So I think the bowlers have showed a great consistency in this match.
Definitely. And again, I'm glad you bring in the point of Shami because he was the chief destroyer. And I think the 7 wicket haul will go down in the history as one of the finest spells. So, Moinak, what do you think has been like working really well for him through this World Cup? We see him come up with these spells, not just like in every other match, but in every single match, right? Ever since he replaced Shardul Thakur. So, do we see an inspired Mohammad Shami, just on a whole different level?
Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. So the brilliant question. So you see, the wicket that he got. I was doing a little of number digging today, and just like to validate what I've been seeing. So Rachin Ravindra has around 578 runs in his 10 innings with an average of 55. He's the third highest run scorer in this tournament, and Daryl Mitchell is the fourth highest run getter in the tournament with 552 runs at an average of 60. What Mitchell was doing, like thrashing the ball out of the park, and Williamson holding aside, and Shami. What works for Shami the best is he has a slingy hit the deck action, and he presents a seam very upright. So whenever he's not getting the new ball, but whenever you see him in Test cricket as well, he gets a lot of swing and also a seam movement when it's playing on seaming tracks, which was also the case in like Wankhede. So Wankhede is generally known for his bounce and red soil pitches. And I found Bumrah and Sham and Siraj to be a bit off color on the in the semi-final day. Probably the nerves doing something. Bumrah bowling some wide runs. KL Rahul saving some like wide extras. I saw like those were really good wicket keeping. Just a side note, but Shami, as soon as Shami came, the first ball of his spell, he just nicks off Conway and Rachin Ravindra. This is phenomenal. Like what does he? How does he come up with that? His bowling action gives you a lot of confidence when he's running in that upright seam. His outswingers to the left-handers, brilliant. So, and you can see, I'll give you some insane numbers from Mohammad Shami. So, people have been talking on media. He just played 6 matches and has around 23 wickets, which is the highest wickets in this World Cup. He's peaking wickets at an average of at an average of 9. Can you believe 9 runs per wicket? Is it a club game or a cricket 7 match computer game we are playing? Like 9, I would not jinx it, but like look at his performance. Like his overall World Cup average is 12.90. So you can say Commit the hour, commit the man. So he's number 2 on the list, just behind Glenn McGrath. No, is it Glenn McGrath? No. I just have to check. He's number 2 on the list. The only other person on the list which is playing in this World Cup is Mitchell Stark, which has around a 90 average of 19 in World Cup. So Shami, I don't know why. Like this is the only criticism I had of the team management. I would have taken Shami every day from the beginning. So they played Shardul, who neither had a bowling uh, big impact in bowling, neither a big impact in batting. So they were just too concerned about the lower order. So if your bowlers can save 50, 60 runs, your batters have to do that many runs less. So I would have played Hardik Pandya and Shami together, so which was not going initially. So Hardik Pandya's injury may be a blessing in disguise for India, and like bringing in Shami has really been great. Like I hope he does it one more time, and he would be one of the top contenders for the player of the tournament if he delivers in the final along with Virat Kohli. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, the kind of performance he's put up, he definitely deserves, an honor of that nature. And I think there's an interesting comment that's coming here by Cricket Darshan that says, "At least I'm relieved that this World Cup has attracted some stars to come in an ODI game. I was really worried before the World Cup about its popularity." So I'll direct this question at Ahona. Now, this match, India versus New Zealand, saw a lot of Bollywood stars and influencers, grace the presence in that stadium. And there's also this discourse that how ODI cricket is like a dying format, and this World Cup, really gave that impetus, and it's alive and thriving. So, what are your thoughts on the same, and why do we place so much importance on like big figures to actually come to cricket? So, so as to reinstate this faith that hey, cricket is like ODI cricket is still alive.
Yeah, I think that people in India, even if they don't follow sports, they will obviously follow movies and films. So I think that is a kind of a way of propaganda that, oh, look, something big is happening. That is like, it is not like your some gully cricket happening out there, so you can ignore. So it is a big thing that is put up on the stage. Like even the actors, I saw Kiara Advani along with, yeah, and with Siddharth Malhotra, they were all there. Even the sports stars were also there, including Sachin. So so I think that was a way to, I guess, to
How
give a
can you forget
spotlight.
David Beckham?
David Beckham, exactly. He was also there. So, being a footballer, he was watching a game of cricket. So, I think that was a way to give a spotlight that it was an important match, and it was like a way to bring the match to the public, the common public of in India. Like, even though we talk about cricket being a second popular game in the entire world, and around 250 million people following it. So, like, but still I think at some point everybody in the world in this country doesn't follow cricket, right? So we need to bring that in front of people. So then that's movie stars and film stars, okay, something is important, that idea, like if they are watching then it is important, so we should also watch. So I think that is a good way of propaganda, I think so. And even the Instagram, I cannot say that the Instagram influencers play a big role, like Sara Tendulkar sitting there and the cameraman focusing on her. And I think that is a great thing. Like, people are, like, they want some masala. So I think that will also bring people in the limelight to watch the sports, for the sports sake, I guess, because people the people of India, at the very core of the heart, they want a little bit of masala to add on. And it is like that, okay, I have some masala to gossip and let's watch the match.
Yeah, and also, like key moments of the match where Virat Kohli was scoring his century, the focus was just on Anushka Sharma, her giving the kisses. Like, I want to see the celebration, but the camera setup was so focused on, capturing like other important people in the stands that I feel somewhere it dilutes the whole impact of the game as well. But again, that's very debatable, and I might get cancelled for that as well. And just looking at the other aspect now, this is a semi-final loss for New Zealand, right? I read a stat somewhere that this is the fifth time they are losing. So we know New Zealand is a class unit. Back-to-back World Cups, you've seen them, always make it to the knockouts. Any preview show, you're always like, hey, New Zealand's going to make it through. So how do you think they're going to cope with this loss? I mean, this is Kane Williamson's also fifth time, right? And major takeaways from the World Cup, Moina?
Yeah. So Kane Williamson's New Zealand has always overperformed. I would not be sad at all. If I was a New Zealand camp, the place that New Zealand was in before the World Cup with Kane Williamson tearing a ligament in the Ahmedabad game during the IPL, and then missing out 6-8 months, good 6-8 months, being the core of the team, being the cool captain that he is, that binds the entire team together. So he's a very, very likable player. So he's a very likable person. He's very, very likable. I really like him. So he, as a cricketer, has found a generational legend for the New Zealand in Rachin Ravindra. I would be surprised if he doesn't become a big, big figure in the near future. So I would, he with like on a debut World Cup, getting 3 centuries is a big deal. So getting 3 centuries is a big deal in itself. Only a few players have done it in the history of World Cups, like Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Saurav Ganguly, Rohit Sharma, and Virat Kohli are the names that are on the top of my head that have got 3+ centuries. So he's got it in the first World Cup itself. So it's getting around, getting 580 runs in the World Cup. When Williamson was not playing at all, he carried the team in the first half of the World Cup. That's a big takeaway for New Zealand cricket. Now the time has come for the change of the guard. So you would not see Saudi and Bolt playing anymore very soon. So they have a finance issue as well. They're not taking central contracts. You have a lot of issues in New Zealand cricket. But this New Zealand team has really, like, 2 World Cup finals back to back, 15-19. McCallum, who can forget Stark getting his wicket, and then 2020 they went to we won the World Test Championships, defeating India, were odds-on favorites to win the final. So they have always punched above their weights. I would the generational players that they had in Team Saudi, they would have to find replacements for the bowling that they had. So they have found Rachin Ravindra, who will be their batting core and probably giving you some spin, but you'll have to get your fast bowlers in, your swing bowlers. So we'll see that probably during the next summer in New Zealand when they play home tests, trying out new bowlers. But I think by 2025 Champions Trophy would be the end of the road for the fast bowlers, which have been seen for 10, 12, 15 years now. So they have to get new pacers in. That's what they have to look for, and maybe look forward to the next, trying to rebuild for the next cycle. So they should be happy for the campaign, and happy with the campaign. The fight that they put up was phenomenal, and I would love to see New Zealand cricket thrive just as their rugby does.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, New Zealand certainly has a campaign, a lot of heart and so much credit, right, to the way they played throughout the start they had, the kind of players they uncovered. So I think they can use this time to introspect and, come back stronger as well. And again, I see this comment in our. Oh, yeah, go on, Hona.
Yeah, then I think that one of the important intakes that we can take from this World Cup is actually record breaking, because we have certain highest run chases. and that has not even taken place in the previous any of the ODI World Cup. And so I think even Virat Kohli breaking records of Sachin, making 50 ODI hundreds. Even Maxwell, you cannot forget about talking about Maxwell, the Glenn Maxwell, and his match with Afghanistan. Like, I was like, okay, it's over. Afghanistan is gonna take over, because that would have been devastating for Australia, that losing to Afghanistan. But yeah, obviously how Maxwell takes up, and he becomes actually the first person to score a double century in working in batting in the end order. So I think uh, maybe this will become a highlight, that 2023 World Cup as a record-breaking World Cup in the history.
Certainly. And we have a comment coming in. It says New Zealand's lineup is thin outside the playing 11. Like in Test, Henry got replaced by Wagner, who has been out of form, is old, and doesn't have any other wicket taking ball other than the bouncer. So I think this is in response to what Moinak had mentioned earlier, about them trying to find their way through this transition. So how would you look at it, Moinak?
I think Tashan is absolutely spot on. That's what I was referring to. So Wagner with his bouncers, he's also aging. He's not going to play a long time. So I think Williamson is around 34, 35, same as Virat Kohli. They played the Under 19 World Cup together. So he would have to rebuild the team before he leaves. He has a massive responsibility, especially on the bowling front. Batting is sort of sorted, and I think there would be. And New Zealand has always been known for its brilliant bowling. Yeah, Shane Bond and so on. I remember they getting us Indian batters out even back in the days, 2004 and all. And I would love them to revive and get a good bowling. Like, it will be interesting when they play their next test series at home, and let's see what happens. Yeah.
Certainly, I mean, New Zealand has that rich legacy, and I'm sure they can figure out a way, and come back stronger in bilateral series and World Cups. Now, I think this comment also we were going to address earlier, that India should be alerted that New Zealand, with their strength, had us in a tight situation for a while. So the Indian team shouldn't be cocky about their 10-match winning streak. So, as an Aussie fan, Ona, how would you look at this? Like, coming into this match, of course, there's like so much to play for. India is coming with this massive winning streak, and Australia, well, they had that tricky start to the World Cup, but we've seen how the next few matches they were playing like some whole other different team, possessed, with that intent to get into the finals. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what he's telling, that is of course right, that you should not get too much like, oh, I have won 10 out of 10. So that is not a thing, that how you should get an approach, because that will obviously bring a downfall. I think so. So I think we should think your opponent as a strong, whatever it is. Like, and Australia, of course, a strong opponent for India, because since 2015, 2003, we cannot forget this World Cups. So 2015, I remember Steve Smith batting, and I was watching my brother. He was like, "Oh no, Steve Smith can't do this. This can't happen." And it was devastating actually for India. Like, everybody was praying, "Oh no, Steve Smith cannot make this much of runs." So I think for this time, in the opening, if the openers like David Warner and Travis Head goes on like how they're going, it's brilliant. So if they goes on like that, it will be a difficult thing for India. And even if we can see Glenn Maxwell and Steve Smith in the form, because Steve Smith is not really doing good. He's actually out of form in what I've seen the previous matches too. So I think if all the batsmen show up what they are, if they show their A grade game, then obviously it will be a difficult thing for India. I hope so. And even we cannot stop talking about Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins. And even I am actually very eager to watch. If I don't know if Zampa is playing this time or not in this match particularly. So Zampa and Kohli has been a good rivalry. So I think that would be a great thing to watch.
Certainly, and we will get to previewing the India versus Australia match in a bit. But let's move on to our next segment in this episode, where we will look at the semi-final two, which had Australia versus South Africa. Now, we saw the result that came out of semi-final one. India had made it to this finals, defeating New Zealand. So all the eyes were on semi-final two, because everyone wants to know who's going to be India's rival in the finals. Now, coming into this match, we were definitely expecting so much, and it was quite interesting how the game panned out as well. So I'll start with Moinak on this one. Now, Australia had a field day, right, winning this match, but perhaps it was their bowling that really stood out and was almost the highlight, reducing South Africa to 212. What do you think worked really well for them? And it's a great sign again.
Oh, definitely. What is it with 212 and World Cup semifinals in Australia? 1999 World Cup, 213, and 2012, 2003 World Cup, Sri Lanka getting Australia all out for 212 and then getting bundled out. And then again 212 this time, Australia bundling out South Africa. So Australian bowling. So I would firstly say that Temba Bavuma did not read the conditions well. So being from Calcutta, having watched a bunch of games at the Eden Gardens, what happens? It's an open stadium. It's a huge stadium, and you have the Ganges flowing next to it. So anytime there's a cloud cover, overcast condition, what happens is you get the breeze from the river. So and that helps you swing the ball like you are. It's English conditions. So people may have talked about Eden Gardens have always held the seamers, irrespective of the fact that it's a if you have the spinning track like that you had this time, you had a dry pitch, but still as soon as they batted first, the experts were saying they should bat first. Was seeing the conditions, talking to my dad and all, so hearing that it was going to be overcast and the cyclone brewing over Bay of Bengal, and hopefully and thankfully we did not get rain, so it was scheduled to get 60-70% of rain and we reduced to 10% on that day. So Temba is irrespective in spite of playing a match at the Eden Gardens against India, I think he was too spooked by like chasing. So as we know, South Africa is a poor chasing team. They sort of tend to struggle and choke when it comes to chases. So that's why he wanted to bat first. But looking at the cloud cover above, so it was looking like Leeds rather than Kolkata. And so as soon as Stark came and nicked off Bahuma, and then Pat Cummins' captaincy. Oh my God, bowling, bowling Stark 7 overs on the trot. Hazelwood completed 8 overs by 20 or by the 20 over mark. He knew that he needs to use the overhead condition like this, and he just used it. And he's nicking off Van der Dussen. Warren, how can you forget Marnus and Warner's fielding? My God, the way they were fielding. And the Calcutta crowd initially was cheering for Australia. They wanted a 2003 revenge. Their very own captain lost that match. And later on, match became so one-sided that they started cheering for South Africa so that they had a closer match. And damn, they were not disappointed. So yeah, Stark's bowling, as he never fails to turn up during a knockout match, and Cummins' captaincy. So he decided to bowl 6, 7, 8 round at the end of the match and at the end of the innings, and let these strike bowlers in these conditions, Stark and Hazelwood, complete most of its overs in the beginning using the overhead conditions. He knew ball would spin for Maxwell and head chipped in. So he used the seaming conditions very well, and also like his captaincy in the bowling was phenomenal. So he was spot on. Yeah, that's the reason they won.
Definitely, I think these were some of the massive pointers, and that worked well for like Australia. Now, even looking at how this could have backfired. Now, you mentioned how Josh Hazelwood and like Stark were bowled out within like a certain time. That's when I think David Miller's knock, right, the 101 was a clutch one and quite imperative. We've seen how the man always rises, in moments like this. So, Honor, how would you look at David Miller's knock, and the Aussie fan in you was getting scared that this man was on a mission and you'd see a much bigger total to chase?
I think David Miller changed the game, because I think like if he wouldn't have taken up the score in his hand, like scoring an 101, and I think like at a point of time South Africa was losing hope, because they were already 22 for 2, and then within hundreds they were all 4 out, 4 gone. So the Miller takes up, and he takes this score to 200s and 212. So it was great for Miller to do it. And at a point of time when even coming to Australia's batting, I was like, that most of the runs were made by Warner and Head. Like they did the 80% of their job. So when the latter batsman came up, I was like, okay, they can do it. It is not that difficult to do it. But they started losing the wickets. Samsi was great, and even Markram was great. They're doing great on the pitch. So I was like, at a point of time, the if I think Warner and Travers Head wouldn't have taken up that at the very beginning, I think it would have been a very difficult for Australia to make the score. Because at the end of that particular innings, they were losing their wickets. They were looking little bit unstable, and the stability not that good. So even Steve Smith was not at form. I think, even the 30s he got because of the catch drops and the misses and the misfieldings that was done by South Africa. So I think obviously South Africa's, if the batsman would have played, even I was expecting De Kock to make a couple of runs. So what he did was disappointing, because I thought, okay, Decock could make a good run, because he has been very consistent. If you look at South Africa's batting, Decock is the one who is the main contributor in the South Africa's run. So it was disappointing at a point of time.
Yeah, just to add on that, so Mona was spot on. So trying to show how Miller's knock was like the crucial knock for South Africa to at least make a match out of it. But Miller was looking like a player on a different pitch altogether. So he was hitting balls into the stands, into the cow corner region, smacking them into the crowd. Uh, Given got his done with 100, and if he had not been out, I think he could have like got a 20-25 runs more, and then that would have been a like a more tricky match for Australia. Like I would not consider Miller's knock on the same footing as Warner and Travis said, because they had a heavy roller before that, and the pitch was sort of for 6-8 overs was not playing that much of a role, and Jensen did not bowl well at all, and they smacked him around. So the spinning pitch, Miller is a very very good player of spin. So that aided him to make the 101 runs, and yeah, they made a match out of it.
Yeah, I
And
think.
we have, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think Zampa got the answer from David Miller. Like, okay, time to show you.
Certainly. And we have this interesting comment coming in that I think this is in response to what Moinak had said earlier about the conditions, that Eden has been quite uncharacteristic this World Cup. KKR were asking for slow conditions, but they got it once. Whereas in the World Cup, most of the matches like have been on slower pitches, and we've seen the subsequent consequences as well. So Moinak, how would you look at this playing out?
Absolutely. Like pitches have been a major talking point this World Cup. So Eden Gardens did not play its usual scene friendly as when Saurav Ganguly came into as a CAB president. So before that, Eden was a spinning track where Sunil Narine used to get all his wicket during the IPL. So, but seamers always got help, but spinners were the people that got wickets. But India was doing very badly abroad. So Saurav came into the picture. He had a vision that India should play on seaming tracks at home conditions and not be home bullies. So as always, as he has been he had this vision of creating Team India. Seeing him, again brought this vision of India playing the seaming conditions. See, Shami is from the Bengal team, right? So he changed relayed the pitch altogether. So and brought in seaming conditions. So 2016 onwards, it has been totally. You remember Muhammad Amir bowling in that India versus Pakistan 2016 at the Eden Gardens. This ball was swinging like nothing. It's like English conditions. So and Virat Kohli again along with Yuvraj Singh fended it off. But yeah, so Eden had changed his condition. So as soon as like the controversy sort of had with BCCI and he had to step down, I think BCCI has played a major role in changing the conditions at the Eden Gardens. I would not have hoped to have a dry pitch against any of the playing any of the teams. I would have wanted a grass pitch with grass and hard bouncy pitch as it was having for 5-6 years. So And KKR, like KKR's matches, like they have been. I don't follow IPL that much, but KKR, at least KKR, I follow the matches, and this few IPLs, you see what happened to Kuldeep. He smacked around the park. So for that, KKR never got a pitch that they wanted. So as Sonas sort of stepped down from his BCCI presidentship, I think BCCI played some under-table cards to affect the Indian pitch. So there have been talks at the Sky Sports and the Daily Mail in UK talking about how pitches have been changed. I'm not saying that India would not have won without the pitch changes, but why do you want that controversy to brew in? So I'm not a major fan of that controversy. So I would want a neutral ground curators to manage pitches and not and have a uniform pitch and maintain the innate characteristic of a pitch. So that's what I had to add.
Yeah, even if to add on that, like uh, if we go on make a page for certain for a particular part of the game for the batsman or for the bowler, it's very injustice. So the pitch should be actually very neutral. If it is grassy, if it is bouncy, it will be difficult for the batsman, but also for tricky for the bowler to use the pitch for in the favor. So if we are going to make the pitch a hard and tough one, so there is no swing, there is no bounce, it's obviously going turn of favor of a batsman, and obviously the crowd will enjoy seeing a six and fours. But that's not how thing works. But so getting a proper pitch is, I think, plays a very significant role in a match, and that will be very good for the sports to bring it in a good level.
Definitely. And, acknowledging how the pitch was acting, and then we had the whole rain threat as well. Now, this run chase is certainly going to be interesting. I mean, both the teams share so much history as well. Now, Australia also had quite the, up and down ride while chasing. So, Ohana, how would you look at that run chase? And somewhere did you think that, South Africa was going to get the better of Australia because so many wickets were down, Maxwell was gone, and suddenly, you could see the pressure. And on Twitter also, everyone was like, hey, could we see South Africa eventually win the match?
At the end, it was Stark and Cummins batting, and I was at a point of time like, okay. Then again, the case of oh captain, my captain, you take the thing in your hand. So like, I think the openers did very well. So for that thing, the Australia is where it is today. And even if the openers will do today, I think it will be difficult for India. And obviously it was a tricky start for Australia. Like they were losing couple of matches, and then suddenly all of a sudden it was like, as you said, it was all different Australia. So the like what we are accustomed to see Australia as a, like, for me as a Aussie fan, I like watching them win. And and obviously losing is a devastation. Even like in when I'm talking about the Ashes series or the Border Gavaskar Trophy, I'm like, uh, yeah, like at a point of time, I'm like, okay, even in the Ashes series, I sometimes like, okay, the ball swing, the Stark, then Pat Cummins, and all of them, like, amazing. Like I think for that point of time, I think the couple of runs that India will put on board will obviously be challenging. If all the players, if as they have shown their consistency, if they goes on, like even the openers like Shubman Gill, then Rohit Sharma, if they pick the runs that they are doing, and even if Virat Kohli scores a century, or even Shreya Shah, he's also been very good. Even Surya Kumar Yadav. So if they go on picking up runs like that, it will be difficult for Australia if the bowling is not tight from their side. So I expect a tight bowling from Pat Cummins and Hazelwood and Stark, because, and obviously Zampa plays a very crucial role as a spinner. So I think it would be very interesting to watch them bowling, because a tight bowling is what we need against India.
What do you want to say about the how tight the match went, like the semi-final went? So I understand we'll be previewing the match later on. So how were you coping with the pressure? So
At a point of time, I was feeling like, okay, the match can go out of hand for Australia, because the middle order were shaky. They were not doing what they were supposed to, and the wicket that was taken up by Markram and Samseev, that was great. So that was a game changer for Australia after Warner and Travers Head. So I think it was a huge pressure on my side as an Aussie fan. So obviously, but like, and that 212 score, which was initially looking a small run chase, was actually looking big at the end of the match. And but the most important thing that South Africa, I thought that the game would be over by 30 or 40 overs, but they have forced and pushed Australia to play till the end, making the bowler to bat as well. So that was a great thing that South Africa could do.
I would disagree as to yeah, Cummins is a bowler, but he has shown his although his average is not that great, around 20 in Test cricket and 20 in ODIs as well, but he has shown his pedigree as a batter. So this season, this year itself, he has won Australia three very crucial matches. So the Edgbaston Test, the reason Australia retained the Ashes, 100 runs, 70 odd he made batting with Nathan Lyon. My God. And he took the responsibility on his own to get the runs. And then the match against Afghanistan, uh, complimenting Maxwell. So even if
But
he
I
has
think
not
for
been
that,
great with the ball, yeah, great with the
yeah,
ball,
but
he has been great with the bat.
Yeah, but I think that the most important thing that Cummins play in batting is that holding a side. So he doesn't rush. He doesn't rush. And at a point of time, he's like, if he has a stable batsman with him, he's like you. He pushes that batsman to play on that side, and the other side he holds. It is very important to hold the other side as for any batsman to let the other batsman bat. So I think for even if Glenn Maxwell had that made that 200s in that match against Afghanistan, it was obviously Cummins had a great contribution. If Cummins would have made a strong holding on the other side, it wouldn't be difficult for Maxwell to get such a great score on the board and make that big chase.
Definitely, and I think Pat Cummins has been the difference, sometimes between the sides. And as Moina rightly pointed out on like three occasions just this year, with that solid batting performance on the other end, we could really see how he's come through. We've seen him make his debut as what, a 17-year-old way back in 2011, and now as the skipper of Australia. It's been quite a journey for him. And although his, I wouldn't say match-winning knock, his knock certainly helped Australia in this match. Now, South Africa will be disappointed, right, with their performance. Now, this is another semi-final loss, and I think the whole chokers tag would ring louder as well. And even Cricket Natashan mentions here how one of the South Africa writers said earlier that the South African players will always have the scare of World Cup semi-finals through generations. But we saw how Gerald Coedza was one who wasn't really phased by by the atmosphere with his headband and passionate celebrations. We really saw he was like not that affected by this whole he was not overawed by the situation. So Moina, what are your thoughts on this, and will South Africa really be able to shed that chokers tag, or do you think it's unfair to label them that?
No, this World Cup they haven't been chokers. First of all, I would lay it out plain and simple. They haven't been chokers. They were outplayed by Australia in the semi-final, and especially the bowling and the condition sweep them. And the Timba has been good as a captain. He has sort of the rugby team. They spoke to the rugby team after they won the World Cup, defeated the All Blacks at Paris. Federer was supporting his mother's country, so his follows South Africa always is in cricket and rugby. So of course, that's side note, but they have been very good this World Cup. So they have, like other World Cups, they haven't really gone down without a fight. So this semi-final too, where there was no match out of it, Markram came. Then you had Maharaj has been brilliant. Keshav Maharaj, like all the teams have negotiated him. I remember India getting only 30 runs of his 10 overs in spite of getting a 300 total. Uh, I'll come to Kotsa in a while, but South Africa, I would not say it's the same as I've seen the 1999 World Cup highlights many a times. The way they just needed one run and they forgot to run, they would have made it anyways. And that those and Mark Boucher, DLS scores, and they were dumped out of the World Cup. These are legends that people will go on for generations. But this South African team were not. They had pressure definitely because having never won an ice World Cup, ICC, yes, they have won one, but never won a World Cup and never reached a final of a World Cup. In spite of having the likes of Dale Steyn and AB de Villiers, who's been the best of bowlers and batters of the generations. So Gerald Coetzee is the person to look out to. Like, wow, what a youngster that South Africa has found. They never fall short of finding fast bowlers, do they? one after the other. They keep on, yeah, Jensen, and then you have your Rabadas and your Nokia, and then now you have a Kotze coming up. This he bowled 9 overs on the trot, and 9 overs. It was cold conditions in Calcutta. People, I saw this Labuschagne coming up with a pullover on, and he was drenched. 9 overs bowling at 150 is never pace never reduced. It showed a lot of heart. Like taking those Yorker that he bowled to Josh Inglis. My God, that will be brilliant. Like I again, South African cricket has a lot of issues to face to deal with. De Kock at just the age of 30, 31 is retiring from ODIs. So again, talking about the priorities of the world game. So people are more like getting driven by what the franchise cricket and all. But yeah, boards need to look up to it and remember that our game cricket has always been a country versus country sort of a sport, not like football where clubs make your team, clubs make players. So I would not want our ODIs to dwindle. So it has all the characteristics of a T20. So of our present days generation may look at T20s as a very entertaining format, and it has the characteristics of a T20 game as well as the attrition of a test match. So yeah, they need to look at introspect what is going wrong in their cricket. So in spite of finding great players, they're not able to hold them back. Labuschagne is one such example. They changed countries. They've gone to Netherlands. Netherlands is playing that well. That's why. Yeah, so that's a thing that you. But they have performed well this World Cup. They're not chokers anymore, I believe.
Certainly, and I think even though they lost this semi-finals, it's time for us to not use that term for South Africa, because every single time they make it to the knockouts, they have quality players. But as you rightly pointed out, I think somewhere the administration can really do a much better job for their players. Look out for them, give them those good contracts that ensures they actually stay here and not play like you can play franchising cricket, but not like as a globe-trotting cricketer. Giving that preference over playing for your nation. And yeah, that does bring us to a very exciting segment in this episode, the finals, right? India versus Australia. Now, I think anywhere you see on Twitter, on Instagram, it's just India versus Australia, this final everyone is looking forward to. And both the teams have a lot of history, as you both already know. Now, we are playing in a finals with them after 20 long years. 2003 was very traumatic for us Indian fans, but I think this is going to be an ultimate showdown nonetheless, because we have a very different team now. We play with that different mindset. Australia is coming in with, of course, the kind of performances they've had through this World Cup. So I think we'll kickstart this discussion with a quick comment that's coming in that says today, winning the toss is obviously going to be a big factor, because India has a couple of good bowlers. Yet, batting first and setting the target of 300 to 350 is going to be quite imperative. So, Ohana, what do you think about this? Is it going to be like a massive, like, do you think toss is going to be a massive, like, defining factor for both the teams?
Yeah, tosses are always a defining factor for any teams. Like, if we saw in the semifinals what happened, it is just because the toss that was a catalyst for Australia to win. So I think for that reason, I think winning the toss would be a game changer for either of Australia or for India. So if India wins the toss and the weather conditions prevailing is good for batting, they should go and pick up a good run chase and set that pressure on Australia. I think that is exactly spot on, like what I was talking about, like 300 and 350 runs is a good chase. So I think getting a less than 300, I don't think that it will be difficult for Australia, but I'm not sure. Anything can happen, and it is a match of luck also at a point of time. So yeah, 350 and 300 is good to go for India.
And Moinak, what are your thoughts on this? Will toss play that defining factor, and team batting first should
Okay,
aim for how much?
so I have quite a mixed opinion on this. So toss, first of all, is not in your hands. Although I joked saying that Rohit Sharma is brilliant at winning tosses, but it's not in his hands. I would not be surprised if he loses the toss and India is bowling first. But India has the strength to bowl first and bowl Australia out early. But the only drawback with bowling first is that India has not chased for 5 matches now. So the first matches they chased first five, and then they set the target for the next 5 matches. And sort of India, although people tout that saying that the chasing is disadvantage for a team in the finals, but that has not been the case in World Cups. So 83 India set up a total, but 87 also Australia set up a total. Then we have 92, I think, yeah. But we had 96, 2011, 2015, 2019, where the teams chasing have won the World Cup. So it's not been that one-sided. But Ahmedabad, I think I'll just check the weather once, and then I'll just Ahmedabad. So the Ahmedabad weather is a bit on the higher side. So it's going to be hot, 33, 34 degrees. That would help your batters if you come up and bat and sort of get the rest for the bowlers, and maybe the pitch may play well under lights, because dew has not been a major factor this World Cup. So India should bat first if they win the toss, but not be very worried. They have the bowlers to restrict Australia to 250 odd runs, and then the chase master can hopefully pull out the match for India. Yeah.
Definitely, I think that toss factor is going to play in a lot, and it will be fascinating to see who wins the toss and what decision they take. Now, even talking about this pitch, right? There's been a lot of like chatter from the Aussie side that the pitch is so and so. So, Ohana, what do you think about that? Like Pat Cummins, I read this Crickbuzz report that he had a few things to say about the pitch. So, do you think like the whole World Cup, we have seen this discourse around how pitches have favored India, and a lot of like former cricketers and experts have also, mentioned this at large. So, do you like really play into this whole thing that pitches are made favorable for Team India, and this finals also? Do you see that playing in India's favor?
The pitch thing also came up earlier. We're talking about that Eden Gardens pitch. So I think that obviously when you're playing in a country, there is a little bias from anyone who is making the pitch. Even we go in England and play in Lords, this pitch will be we can't expect the pitch will be flat. There will be grasses, and the pitch will be bouncy, and it will be tricky for the batsman. So obviously they should expect this from our side too. But I don't think that there are also certain controversies that brews up, and this is not actually what it can be proven that what they are doing is for our benefit, because it can in this speech only we have seen Australia making a good ranches, and also the great scores coming up, and also the highest run chases ever and the highest run scores made 700 runs that was never made in from by both the teams in any of the World Cups. So obviously we can't give the all the blame to the pitch makers, or we can say that is bias for any country to make a pitch for like that. So obviously there will be controversies regarding it.
And I think here, bringing up Moinak's point earlier about having like neutral pitch curators and, ensuring that no home side gets to prepare it comes into play, right? And I hope, the ICC can make like an official mandate about it in ICC events as well. Now, I think I'm going to direct this question to both of you. So, of course, a match of this nature brings in a lot of like matchups, right? So, let's start with Moinak. What are your key matchups for this match? And then we can have Hona share her thoughts.
Okay, so the most key matchup is one that we would not be seeing most probably, which is Ashwin versus Smith, Warner, and your Travis Head. I don't think Ashwin will play, but I would not be surprised if he's brought into the team just for Australia. So he played the first match, and that would be a matchup to look up to. Maybe if India is bowling first, that would be helpful as well, getting the wickets early. But if Ashwin plays, that would be a matchup to look up to. And people like me, media houses have been telling that India is thinking about that, but I don't know. But the sure shot matchups would be Stark and Hazelwood to Rohit. Hazelwood has already got him once, and Rohit has sort of a lower batting average to left-handed bowlers. Yeah, and you see Shaheen Shah, Freedy getting him bowled and so on. We can never forget that. And another one is Zampa and Kohli. Zampa, Kohli, and Hazelwood and Kohli. So they have had this to have been quite a matchup. So Zampa, Kohli does not have a very good record against. So that is one thing. That's with Indian batters and Australian bowlers. But on the other hand, Shami would be, if Shami will of course play, If Ashwin is playing, he'll play for instead of Siraj. But if Shami to Warner and Smith, and also Travis Head, this would be more than Smith, Travis Head, and Warner. The left-handers and Shami's outswing would really be lethal, and Bumrah's tight length would be crucial to, very crucial for restraining Australia in case they bat first or India cannot put up a very very high score. Yeah.
Fair enough. And Ohana, any key matchups you're looking forward to as an Aussie fan?
As I was mentioning that Virat Kohli and Zampa obviously is a good liability to watch on. I think Hazelwood and Stark and Cummins would also play a very crucial role, as we have also seen the Brisbane Test series. We cannot forget that, of course, that Hazelwood's devastation and his autocratic rule over there. So obviously, I think
Adelaide, right?
yeah, Adelaide. Sorry. So, getting all 36 all out. So that was the thing we all were not looking for, obviously. And I think obviously they will put up their best in this match also, including Stark and within good average. Stark also has a very good average in the ODIs. Like he was talking about 12 runs per wicket. So I think that will be a great thing about Australia because they have the best bowling strength in Stark and Hazelwood. Uh, Cummins also, I would say, he's been very consistent from the last few matches, and obviously his captaincy. I think the maidens, the dot overs, picking up the wickets by Zampa, by the spinners, will be a great thing to do.
Certainly. And now, there's another interesting comment that comes in that, a finals match will create a lot of pressure. Now, this is on both the teams, but especially for Team India because, they're playing in the home ground. You have 1 lakh odd fans. The pressures on their shoulders with a lot of love and expectations from fans, watching them across the globe as well. Now, we've seen how a home World Cup is very, it brings in a lot of pressure. And the past editions have also seen the home team, lay their hands on that coveted trophy as well. So, Moina, do you see this being like a dampener for Team India that, you have so much pressure? It's a home World Cup. You have to win. You've won 10 matches. Do you think they'll be carrying that pressure, or will it be like a more positive thing? Like, hey, we have the momentum of having won 10 matches. We have our home fans on our side. And the stadium is going to be blue. It's the Narendra Modi Stadium. And I'm sure fans have booked tickets like way in advance. So, what are your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, Motera is a quadrant, 120,000 odd people, 120,000 people. And yeah, so there's a lot of propaganda for the match. So, which not all of which I would enjoy. So there could be some pressure regarding like a lot of state dignitaries, the prime minister, like visiting the match and having air shows and so on. But I think India has had a lot of failures in the past in this few 6, 7, 8 years, starting off from 2016, 15, 14 as well. 13 was the last time they won an ICC trophy, and 11 was the last time they won a World Cup. So they have had this feature of expectation because I believe wherever India plays, they play as a home team. If and only if they don't play Australia in Australia or England in England. They're the only two cases where they would not play as the home team. Otherwise, they always play as the home team. The pressure would not the press conferences and how Rohit Sharma is speaking. I think they're taking one match at a time. So pressure was definitely there for the last few World Cups, but I think they have put it behind them and they wouldn't just concentrate on the match, on today's match, and not. Yeah, there would be a bit to a few a few distractions, but I think they will have to deal with it, and they will deal with it. They have been playing for a long time now. This team. Yeah.
Yeah, and the match also, comes in with a lot of weightage. This could be a last World Cup for a lot of players. Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. We may not see them in another one, so it will be quite a fitting. I wouldn't say farewell as yet, but like a fitting tribute to players of this nature, right? And I think we'll have this other comment as well that says that if India loses the toss, then they have to set their own target and keep the Aussies within 250 runs. India must not forget from history that Australia is, of course, the great fighter in big match situations. So, Ohana, how would you look at the Aussie mindset? In spite of the start they had in the World Cup, many people thought, hey, I don't think they're going to have like that great a World Cup. But you saw how they came back versus, say, in England that had a very forgettable World Cup in that nature. So, could you tell us more about the Aussie mindset and always delivering in these big match situations and being the fighter, as mentioned here?
What I think is that the pressure that Australia creates is the great thing. That if they are bowling at the very beginning, they will try to pick up the wickets at the very beginning, and because they don't think, like they don't allow the batsman to set, because if they know that if the batsman is settled in the crease, they will obviously pick up runs, because obviously they're not that easy to take up. Our openers are very strong, including Rohit Sharma, and even Shubman Gill is also playing very well nowadays. So. Uh, for that thing, I think the first and the foremost thing that the Aussies will look up to take up the wickets at the very beginning, reduce the target, uh, as said, by 200 and 250 runs. I think that they will not allow. They will try not to get more runs for India, and obviously the pressure, the good fielding would also be beneficial for them, because they have the great fielders, including Labuschagne and Ma, and also we can see Warner. So in that cases, obviously the fielders will also have a crucial role to play to stop the run chase, to stop the higher number of runs in the scoreboards.
Certainly. And as we reach the last question of our discussion, let's do a quick prediction, right? I know it's very difficult. Like, you can't predict who's going to win the toss. But as fans, what are your predictions in this match? We'll have Moina go first and then Ohana.
The Google predictor says 70-30 in favor of India. But I would, the Australianism and Australian mindset, I would not give it that much of an edge to India. I would give 60, 58-42 or 60-40 edge to India. Yeah, because they've been in an impeccable form, and they have really been clinical throughout the World Cup. They have their bad days, being 2 for 3 against Australia in the first match, and Virat Kohli stepped up once again. And I would hope that he steps up for the final time in this World Cup, get to that 800 runs mark, which has never been done. 700 has not been done yet, so he would try to break his own record. And I would think India would win at the end of the day, 6 out of 10. Yeah, fingers crossed, and relieve us of the trauma that I had in 2003, seeing Ponting and Martin scoring those runs. And I was very like 4 years old, and my dad had to take me out for a stroll when Sachin got out first ball, and then Saurav got out after scoring 25 runs, and then I was crying, and we went out. We came back, and then again I remember Sehwag and Dravid giving a fight, but at the end of the day, we lost again. So that was a different Aussie team, but this Indian team is, I would say, in that same aura. The I would say it's the same. See, the first that time as well, India had won 8 matches on the trot to reach the finals. So there's see the symmetry here. And this time as well, Australia has won eight matches on the trot and then lost the match against India. And there also the first group stage match, India had lost to Australia, second match, and then again lost in the finals. So there, the invincible team that Australia was in 2003, I believe India is that invincible team this time. But I'll not jinx it. But I hope they can. They should win it. It would be an upset if they lose the World Cup this time, especially in Indian conditions. And as I just want to point out one thing. The only reason that Australia has an edge, edge, to other teams at defeating India, is because the captaincy. I'll give you an example. Like Cummins is not spooked about the wicket that they're getting. He said, no, this is a good wicket. In the press conference, is telling it's a good wicket. We'll get plenty of runs. There's grass on it, and this is doesn't care about anything. All this sort. Doesn't just wants to concentrate on the game. And India should also keep grounded and just do the basics right, and then I think we would win the World Cup. Yeah.
And Ohana, your thoughts on like any predictions on this?
It's difficult to predict because we can't, of course. So I think uh, both are good competitors, and I think it will be 50-50 to go on, to be on the safer side. So, so like, for that thing, I believe that India, the key thing that India should maintain is to keep calm, the calmness and the being patient, because we see that they get impatient when there is a loss, when they cannot pick up wickets, and then comes the wrong bowlings, like the wides, the no balls, and obviously the bad length balls. So in that case, I think the patience and being calm will obviously be a key thing for their, which will be beneficial for their win. And obviously I would like Australia to give a tough fight for India. And I think for them also, Cummins is very calm. If you compare for both the teams, Cummins is calm, and obviously that would be a thing for Australia to move on. That will keep an edge over India, of course, and always hope for the best.
Certainly, we're in for a belter of a match, and I think we get started in less than 2 hours. So let's see how that unfolds. And before we conclude our discussion, let's have this quick comment. A big match is not the match of only Virat or Rohit. This is the match of everyone. I think we've seen how Star Sports, in their coverage of this World Cup, has been obsessing over Virat Kohli. Like, you just go to any of their pre-match, mid-match, post-match, it's just Virat Kohli. And I know they're giving like due credit to the other players who have played well, but it just seems like an obsession thing with Virat Kohli. So again, I'll take both your opinions on this. Moina, what do you think? Like, is it a very like short-sighted view, or do you also
Uh,
see it?
yeah, yeah. So what he's done, he deserves the attention, but I think it's they're doing a bit more, and the broadcasters, and I think they're just doing it for their TRP sake. So you can't just complain. So it's just the way to sell their show and all.
And Ohana, your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, obviously, cricket is a team match. It's not like tennis that one person plays. So obviously, I think the teamwork obviously matters. But of course, Rohit and Virat, they are the pillars as we are talking about. So if they can if they are good to go, India is good to go.
Right, and through the years, that has been the fashion. So it will be a fitting, tribute to their careers as well, and for Team India fans as well, who have waited for this World Cup to, finally come home after what 12 years. So fingers crossed for a interesting contest, and yeah, a lot of our mental health also depends on this match. So let's hope for the best. And yeah, that pretty much does conclude our discussion. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank both of you for joining, the show today and sharing some lovely insights. You really added a lot of value and nuance to our conversation. So thank you so much for that. And to all the viewers who joined in, watched us live through this and shared your questions, insights, analysis, thank you so much for that. It really helped us a lot through our conversation. And we hope you had something to take away as well. And we look forward to seeing you in our future shows as well. And we will be doing a live show like this every Sunday with cricket fans. So make sure you follow and subscribe Never on the Back Foot on YouTube. And we also have an audio podcast on Spotify. You can check that out as well and follow our coverage on Instagram and X. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Thank you so much and take care.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Never on the Back Foot, for having me. Thank you. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to also share our insights, what we think about this World Cup. Thank you very much.
Lovely hosting you guys. Cheers.
Yeah, would love to have some conversation over the Australian Open someday.
Definitely.